Hello everyone and welcome to episode 6 of Wixo on a Vanzig plan. In the last episode, we saw a lot of things happening, mainly in Junglia and Zoo, where we saw a lot of vassals form, and of course over here where we saw Marka and Darius form, and Yumpria of course invading Yumpria. But yeah, without further ado, let's get straight into the video. Oh, also, if you end up enjoying the video, please like and subscribe. It will mean a lot. Thank you. Let's get on with the video. Alright, so starting over here where we left off last episode, we have Tirutsu basically continuing to push up north into Yumprian territory. Now, Yumpria really wasn't expecting this. This is like their first real war, other than of course Albania and their independence. But this is more so like you're fighting on your own home turf. So, pretty bad. And due to, of course, the inexperience that Yumpria has of fighting like full one-on-one homeland wars, they are gonna lose. I don't know what I'm saying, but doesn't matter. We see Yumpria basically get pushed out of this area, but then we see the main Yumprian army come down here from the capital all the way down south here to Tirutsu, and we see them get majorly pushed back, like all the way to this major city. So yeah, already this is going kind of bad. But instead of trying to peace out, they're gonna continue fighting, which is actually a pretty smart move, believe it or not, because Yumpria is really unstable. As you can see, they are an orange stability, which is lesser than Tirutsu's yellow stability. And of course, with Yumpria having lost Albania, Tirutsu is basically betting on more areas of Yumpria trying to gain independence. And that actually is gonna happen, because Yumpria's stability is gonna go all the way down to a red stability. And yeah, with that, Tirutsu's chances of winning the war have just increased tenfold. Mainly because we're gonna see a new country rebel in Yumpria, being this area over here. These two major cities basically just choose to rebel away from Yumpria, and they managed to cut some very important supply lines. And even this over here, as they captured this major city, and yeah, that's about it. But we will see this rebellion continue expanding all the way up north here to this major city, as a new group basically pops up and also takes over this major city. And then also another one over here. So yeah, Yumpria is instantly kind of cooked. As you see these rebels consolidate over here. However, Yumpria manages to basically push into these rebellions in the south and the northernmost regions. So I guess that's a bit good. But of course this area is now encircled, so not the best. Now taking a break from this war and going over here to Tirutsu. They, as you may remember, are nomadic, and they are going to be releasing a new piece of their country. Well, not really releasing, more so abandoning that piece of their country and leaving it to, I don't know, maybe die, maybe not, I don't know. We see this area here basically gain independence for free. And of course their capital will be in the only major city that they have, being this one in the center of the country. So yeah, their name will be Tsunari. Now staying on the topic of Tirutsu, we're gonna see them expand a lot over here in these eastern regions, more specifically down here, southwest. Southwest. We see them expand to this river and this major city, taking it over. They also go over here and take over this island, and they just continue expanding down south, taking all of these areas over, like so, pushing up against these mountains over here into this major city. But then we see a new country, or a new bunch of countries form down here. And yeah, this is how we see this region looking like a lot of new countries. Now Tirutsu is not really that angry at this. I mean, we're not really gonna expand all the way down here. However, a lot of these nations become a bit angry at Tirutsu because, I don't know, mainly this one down here, as they grow to really dislike Tirutsu And of course, with them being the strongest, that's going to be a bit of a problem. Anyhow, going back to Yumpria and this whole war, we see Eugenterius basically make a large push into this area, taking all of it over. And yeah, eventually all these armies are given an ultimatum. Surrender or, I don't know, you're cooked. Eventually they choose to pick a third option, and that is to declare independence. And now Eugenterius doesn't really care. They just want their land back. They don't care if this area, I mean, not their land back, they just want this land. But they don't give, like, they don't care if this country ends up being part of Yumpria or what. They just want their land. So eventually, these two nations will agree to basically set up a border here. And yeah, this is how the border will look like. As Eugenterius basically just annexes these areas. And they also get this island, which is really nice. Now this rebellion down here and this rebellion up here are very, very confused. Are they gonna continue fighting over this little area, over here, that wants to be part of this rebellion? Or do they not fight and fight against Yumpria? And eventually these two nations are gonna choose to fight it out, which is not gonna go well for the military rebellion. They lose most of this land and all of this land. And yeah, eventually they just choose to sign a peace treaty. Now, Yumprian armies are heading down south as fast as they can. They quickly take over these areas. And the major city that was here, but I hid the layers so you can see it. Prime military generals now with, a lot of manpower make a large offensive down here to try and cut off supply lines. And that goes really well, as these two areas are completely separated. However, this final offensive really wasn't enough to save Yumpria, as their stability will not just go into the dark red, which would already mean really close to collapse. It will go to dark blue, which means they are in complete collapse right now. Quickly, we see this island rebel for no real reason. They just kind of want independence. And with them, so will this area, which used to be part of the Green Rebellion, but is now joining up with this country, so do with that what you will. Up here, we see this rebellion pop up and take all of this land away from Yumpria, as, yeah, they are really not doing well. Eventually, we even see Watergrad join in to get some extra land, and they follow this river area, like so. And yeah, eventually Yumpria is dead. They're gone. The country just collapses. The government, nothing left of it. So eventually a new government will basically pop up here, and it will be recognized as the new Yumprian government. Now, with Yumpria basically dead, we can take a look at this peace treaty. And yeah, here we see by far the biggest treaty of this whole series so far take place, as we see Yumpria basically get divided into 5 pieces. This country, this country, this country, this country, and this country. That's a lot of countries. So far, Yumpria has lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 countries. That's a lot. But yeah, moving down south to Eugenterius, their borders look horrible. They're gonna use the boost from controlling these roads over here, as you can see, to expand over this way. So yeah, we see Eugenterius expand, but we also see Olivia expand a bit into this area because it looked really ugly. And with that, the whole of the Flenonia lake is filled in, which is really nice. I really like the look of this. It looks nice. Anyhow, going over to roads, we're gonna see Eugenterius use all their wealth to help Olivia, all nations, construct their own roads. So that's really nice of these guys, really nice. We see them basically help out like this. And yeah, Olivia makes a road here, so both of them get more money. Now, because Yumpria is sort of dead, we're actually going to see them leave the Diamond Alliance, which, as you remember, I hope, was an alliance to stop Tirutsu from expanding, and now it's lost one member. But it really doesn't matter, because by now, Junglia is probably on par with Tirutsu, so, that's cool. But we will also see another alliance form, as we see the Circle Alliance form between Yuga and Tirius. Oh, that's big outline. As we see the Circle Alliance form between Yuga and Tirius and her newfound ally of Olivia. But not just them, Olivia too. So Yuga and Tirius has already assembled a pretty large block. Speaking of which, let's take a look at the power rankings. Now, as you can see, these things are very outdated. First off, Epertania is still here, which they're dead. And of course, Junglia isn't here, and a lot of other nations are here. So yeah, let's take a look at the new power rankings. So first off, of course, Waizalu will be in number 1. And the number 2 is of course Zu. That just makes sense. And number 3, we're not going to see Tirutsu be number 3. Now, it's actually Watercross. They're back in number 3, which is really cool. Number 4 is Tirutsu, which, makes total sense. They're pretty big and strong. And number 5, we of course see Rasuni. And number 6, we see Arusinu. And number 7, of course, is West Junglia. They have really climbed up the ranks and have become a respected power, along with all their vassals here. 8 is Libania, having really gotten strong after rebelling from Yumpria, and of course being super stable. And 9 we have Regentia, which is pretty self-explanatory, I'd say. They have expanded a lot, and they're friendly with Watercross, so that's good for them. And in 10 we have Junglia, which I'm sure that makes sense. Anyhow, going over here to Flenonia, we're actually going to see them split in half, as this area over here, let me just find a color that fits. Alright, dark green. Let's do dark green. This dark green nation will rebel from Junglia and basically take all of this land. And of course they will cut Flenonia, from all these areas over here in the east, which this country really didn't want, because they didn't want to border Watercross. So, with this area being basically disconnected from Flenonia, we're gonna see Watercross and Zu, partition it for themselves. And also Vortis is there too, I guess. So yeah, we see Flenonia basically get divided in half. And, Flenonia thought Watercross would definitely save them, but Watercross didn't. They just jumped in and took this land for themselves. And because of that, Flenonia is actually going to leave 3-point star lines, which isn't really smart, considering that Zu is up here and they want you dead. Now, with the 3-point star lines, of course, losing a really important member, they're actually going to look for new members to join the alliance. And luckily for them, they have a country right down south who would love to join. That being Legentia, as we see them join the 3-point star lines. Anyhow, going over to this country, we're gonna update all their things like capitals and such. So yeah, I guess I can give you a real-time feed of what they do. I grab the capital over here, copy and paste it, and place it wherever. There we go, it goes to that city. And for the name, either I make something up, or I look at the city names. The city is named Guinness, so Guinness? I don't know. Guinness. Yeah. Alright, and of course, Guinness. Let's make that the name of the country. Guinness. There we go. Yeah, and that's the process of how I make my countries, peace treaties and stuff. And going over here to Junglia, we're gonna see them peacefully separate into a bunch of nations. First off, we see this area over here declare independence, peacefully of course, and they just get all of this land for free. Yippee! And then we have actually a joint Watercrossian and Junglian effort to give independence to this area, because this has really been dragging down the stability of both nations, which has even led to Junglia descending down into lime stability, if you can believe it. But yeah, this area will finally get its independence, despite it never having been mentioned before in the series. Yeah. So yeah, this country gets its independence. And this country over here will also take over this major city from Flenonia, because they don't have a major city to call their own. So yeah, a new updated map of the Flenonian Peninsula, and holy crap, everything has descended into chaos. Anyhow, going back to this country, I just want to mention really quickly that they are actually a vassal of Watercross. Now, they still are independent, they just have to pay money to them. There are two different types of vassals. There are puppet vassals, which you control, like over here in Junglia, this country, and this country. They're full-on vassals, you control them, and they pay you money. Meanwhile, nations like Wagni and this one down here are independent, and they have the power to make their own choices. However, they still have to pay you money and are in the end subordinate to you. Alright, here is the updated map with all the capitals, all the ideologies, and lastly, the stabilities. Don't worry, I didn't forget about this region. These are the ideologies. Remember, purple is more libertarian, blue is center, the orange is right, and of course, the magenta thingy is left. For the last event of our video, we're going down here to Yumpria and Marcotte, as we're gonna see them greatly expand in this region down south. We're gonna see Marcotte expand over here to this area, and Yumpria will then expand over to this area. As you can see, quite a lot of land gets taken by these two. And as sort of a consequence of that, we're gonna see two nations form in this area. First off, we have this green country forming in the eastern area of this peninsula. And then we have basically a sister country forming over here. These capitals, their capitals will be in the only two major cities that these two countries have, aka this one on the peninsula and this one down south. As for the ideologies, well, we have our two first monarchies. Yeah, believe it or not, these two nations are monarchies. Now, they are still, democratic, they're constitutional monarchies, but monarchies nonetheless. So, yeah. And yeah, these two countries will be called Uduro and Numisandu. And yeah, with this whole event out of the way, we are finished with the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next episode, where we will be focusing on this area over here, and over here, north of Junglia, Zoo, and West Junglia. See you next episode!